Dave, man, I'm worried about you. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. By the way, what happened with Danny?
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Okay, you let him off the hook. I get it. What do you think the problem is?
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Come on, Dave. Be a little hard on yourself, don't you think? You think you're going to be able to rebound and make the playoffs?
Uh, Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
All right. I get it. Let me give you a word of advice, Dave. Going into this week, maybe talk your team up, kind of give them a little motivation. Put your game face on.
In my entire adult life, I've never used the expression game face, so I have no idea what it means or what you're supposed to do.
All right? Not a good idea. Hey, man, we're wasting too much time. We got a podcast to do. Let's go. All right, here we are. Dave, welcome to the podcast. Dave?
Oh, just kidding.
Oh,
Just kidding.
oh, you are there. You are there.
I'll switch to the big
Oh,
set. I don't want to confuse Junior.
yeah, and we don't want to. So here's what I learned, Dave. Everyone, welcome to the podcast.
Yay!
Like, subscribe, comment. You know the drill. Yeah. But last week was just a train wreck. We went into it with all these high hopes, new segment, tons of research done. And here's what we learned from that. Okay. Let's stick to what we're good at. And that's really, really small amount. We're not doing any screen sharing. We're not doing anything fancy. We're just going to stupidly talk about fantasy football.
Okay.
And not all of fantasy football, just our league. That's what we're
Okay.
going to do.
In the wise words of Aaron Rodgers, we're going to simplify.
We're going to simplify. Yes. 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 So, Dave, are you hearing me okay? Is the volume coming through? I just want from far down in the rankings. I just making sure that the sound was coming through. Can you hear me?
I hate you.
Yeah. just wondering, making sure. From way up here, just making sure that down there everything's okay. So
Don't we have a segment to get to or something?
we do. Dave, the floor is yours. The Miller Time Team of the Week.
Right. Prior to that, I think we had a nice little cold open there.
Yeah.
Kevin did a wonderful job. I threw that to him kind of last minute, late last night, seeing if he could work some magic. I had a couple ideas, and he went with it. Originally, when you sometimes you see an audio and you're like, man, the one that stuck out, and it didn't make it into this, but it was the Joe Biden. How's your what's he say? Your mental focus.
Yeah.
Focus. That and he's like, oh, it's focused.
Yes.
And I just thought that would have been a that, and then a couple of, but then what you did, brilliant.
Yeah.
I liked how it all went together.
Yeah, that was fun to put together, and with your meme face, we got the sky's the limit. I mean, we can do this all season long.
Oh man!
We'll
right,
probably
so awards.
I mean, I had worked on one. There was a couple, we had been talking Tombstone, so I was thinking that it would get in a couple. I had one from the town that I was gonna do, but then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll do what we had. That worked fine, and
I was
maybe
wanting to
next
somehow
time.
work in the Aaron Rodgers. He made up a word. He's like, there's a
Yeah.
difference between what's he say, frustration and miserability.
Yeah.
And he said it in
that-
such a way as if everybody's supposed to know that. Like,
Yeah.
what are you, stupid? You don't know there's a difference between frustration and miserability?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
he's
I know we
lives in his own world.
we got a segment to get to.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
But he was Aaron was on with Pat McAfee on his weekly. He does it weekly, and you got to think that how miserable is that? It probably Aaron probably feels like you do coming on the podcast, knowing that I'm going to talk about how bad your team sucks. So you can relate, right?
Yes.
But so Pat asks him. He says, "Do you think you've got the guys in the locker room to turn this thing around?"
Wow.
And Aaron was like, "Pat, what do you what do you
Yeah.
want me to say to that?" And then he was like, "You know what? You're right." Like he goes, "But how awesome would it be if you were just like, nah?" He's like,
Yeah. Like
so Aaron didn't fall for the bait, but it like sometimes you gotta. I loved it because like Aaron like turned it back around like, bro,
Yeah. Come on.
like
No.
ask better questions. That like, what do you think I'm gonna say to that?
Yeah. Like he gets himself in enough trouble. He doesn't need
Yeah.
McAfee's help.
Yeah. So anyway, Miller time team of the week.
Man, I struggled this week. I did. And I'm sick of Junior. Just Junior, I'm sick of you. Just
Yeah.
tired of you. So no, I'm not giving it to you, even though you scored 149.8 freaking points and you beat up on poor Josh. No, you're not getting it. You probably should.
First time all season he's gotten high points.
Yeah. He should get it, but he's not because I'm sick of Junior.
Okay.
I was all ready to give it to Danny. Because the 11th hour he goes and drops a pretty decent wide receiver, picks up a tight end just for the chance of beating me
Yeah.
for a meaningless second win. So I was going to give it to him, but then he ended up not even needing those points. So that whole last minute pickup was worthless. So no, Danny, you don't get it either. Screw you, Danny.
Yeah.
And I thought about giving it to you. 128, that's pretty good. But unfortunately, whenever you seem to do good, you turn into a pompous blowhard. So no, I'm not giving it to you either.
What?
So I'm starting to lose,
Yeah, you're running out of teams.
I'm running out of people. But I'm just going by impact of the win. So it's going to Ed.
Yeah.
We've been downing Ed all season.
No,
We've been downing him because he shows up sometimes, but he'd have some flashes of good. But this win here, he beat Travis and he flip flopped, and now he's in 8th place. He's in the playoffs right now.
And if you talk about significance, right? Like we've talked about some of these teams that are hovering around like anywhere from 6 to 9, 10 spot, right? Like how important they are. And we've had a few weeks where like these teams seem to be playing each other. And we had talked last week, like, you were frozen, but we did talk about the fact that this Ed Travis matchup was going to be really big.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most disruptive wins of the season, as far as just like getting Ed flip-flopped and what it did to Travis, especially because of Travis's point total and stuff, coming off of a big win from Travis the week before.
Yeah.
I've
been, I put it in my notes. So, you read the write-up of the week if you feel like it. It's out there now for, at least, what I know so far. But I mentioned that we've been kind of talking about this for a while, that Travis had some wins. He got some pretty cheap wins. He got some close wins, but he wasn't scoring much. And we kept saying this could come back to bite him. All he has to do is lose a couple. And he lost one, and then Ed won, and now he's on the outside looking in. He's in 9th place, and Ed's in 8th, and you'd rather be in 8th, even with 5 weeks left, than not, than trying to get in.
So
for me, good job.
Yeah, for me, hillbilly of the week, and this is always tough. It's always subjective. You know what I mean? I've got to go with Big Lee, only because that was the biggest letdown. Like Brian versus Lee, we had pumped it up to be this major matchup. Brian scores under 100, which is like that. If you're gonna get him, that right, like do that. Lee was facing a ton of bye guys, right? Like so it's not all his fault. He put in Mariota over Carr. That was a bad choice. It wouldn't have got him enough points but it would have made it more competitive. It would have made it, definitely to a place where he's probably not hillbilly of the week, but I just expected more out of that matchup. And so
And
he
you know
got
why
some,
it's disappointing too, this matchup, is that Brian really is only interesting when he scores a bunch of points and loses.
Yeah.
This night, him winning 97-60, that's not a Brian win or loss.
Yeah.
He either needs to lose 128 to 125 or
Right.
win, with high points.
Yeah.
These kind of wins are not interesting for Brian.
yeah, for sure.
That's not the Brian we know.
No. So I know
But
it's
that
not
does
your
give him,
fault,
He's
Lee.
5-4 now, right?
Yeah,
he's-
don't beat me up. All right. So yeah, that, you got to give it to somebody, and just coming off of 6 weeks in a row, like, I just expected more, but everybody's going to have a down week. I mean,
And
even junior, hasn't always cost him a loss, but everybody's kind of had, weeks where they've been beatable, and Lee just didn't do enough to put himself in a position to win. So what we wanted to go ahead.
flip flopping, like if any of these things, like if he would have got that win over Brian, and Brian was sitting there at 4-5 with that many points, we'd be like, what in the world's going on? And Lee would be like a step away from Junior.
Oh yeah, he'd be right there.
I mean, he's not that far away now. He's like he's right with you, right? At 6-3. So you're on his heels, but boy, that would have changed things.
Well, but Lee had more points than me going into week 9.
Okay.
But he scores 65 and I score 128, and it flip-flop things.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So not just losing, but if you lose and you have a really down week, if you're going to score less than 80, that really puts you in a position for not only to get catapulted by somebody because of your loss, but also if you're battling somebody because of point totals, which kind of leads into where what we wanted to go into next, which is, Dave, we only have 5 weeks left. 5 weeks left of the regular season. 5 matchups.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Seems like it just started.
Yeah, we were just at the tavern, it feels like.
Yeah. Just dreaming about what might be, and now some of us are thinking what might have been.
So this question came up, leads us into the power rankings. So I can go back through those really quick for everybody. Junior's on top, and we took some flack for not moving him out of the 1 spot after Lee had such a big game. Junior suffers a loss. What's Junior do? He bounces back, gets high points, right?
We know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So Junior, we've got Heimtime in second. He's just, we think he's dangerous, right? And we'll get into this more in a second about the whys and everything, but he's ranked second. Lee's still at third. He's not gonna drop that far. He had 6 wins in a row. It was a bad week. He had a bunch of guys on bye. We'll see what happens this week for him. I'm in fourth.
Brian is not the end of the world.
Yeah. I'm in fourth. My team is made up of paper mache, but we somehow continue to keep winning. And so we'll take it. Rennie's in 5th place, discount double check. Man, Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to turn the season around, it has to start, and it's against that Dallas defense, man. I know Rennie said he was going to start Rodgers no matter what, but after 3 picks and now he's going to face Diggs, that's tough.
I mean, he's home, but that hasn't really mattered.
Oh, so Rennie's in 5th, Adams in 6th, and he can't be too happy about that. But man, his team has been vulnerable all season long. Had a good win this week. We've got Ed in 7th, like you said, right there, making some moves. We've got yourself in 8. You thought you might drop completely out. No such luck. You're hanging on. Flex at 9, and Sundance Kid, Brennan at 10. So that's where everything's stacked up right now. It's pretty similar to what the rankings, to the standings. We can talk about those in a second. But the question came up, Dave, is what are the power rankings based off of? And so you and I are the only ones that that really vote on these. It's you and it's me. Now, I do have a thought, and about maybe as we get a little bit closer to the end, about what it would be like to have a coaches poll. Okay, so like where I would send something out and let everybody vote. Okay, so maybe
see
that's
if it
something.
changes anything.
Yeah, so we get into, look for that maybe in your inbox on Tuesday morning to fill out. So that's just a thought. But I'll answer mine, but I'll give it to you first, Dave. So when you consider filling out your power rankings, what are the criteria you're looking at?
So I look at the standings, then I look at the most recent week, like the past week of what happened, how did
Yep.
people win, whether they won, the difference of winning. I look at the next kind of their current team makeup. Was there a significant injury? Was there a couple guys that are going to get way more playing time, more touches? Somebody else got hurt, which makes your team stronger. That's the kind of stuff I look at. So it's sort of like right now, like all the factors that make you strong based on your current, record, your points, that goes with record, like your total points, what you just did, that week before, and then if anything happened that week that sort of changes a certain player on your teams or not, if we
Like
would
for
have had more
Junior.
information, like by now,
Right.
or by yesterday, like if it was like Josh Allen is out, not that Junior would, I don't know that, I don't think he would drop from one, but another loss, like this, like those are the kind of things that this week, if he has to start somebody else and say Allen's going to be out a couple weeks, that could, those are the kind of things I look at.
Yeah. So I would concur with all that. I think Adam was asking the question. That's the most Adam thing ever to do, is to ask what the criteria are. And so it definitely, when I look at it and I'm gonna place my votes, it's based on, I do look at record, but it's not only record. I look at how many points you've scored. I look at all the same things that you're talking about. It is kind of a trending thing, like if somebody's trending up versus trending down, like what, so, I think that his question was specifically asking if it's a representation of now or projected into the future. And I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think it's,
I mean, I probably weighted more towards now. Like your record probably because you can't predict the future, but we
I
I
don't think we're looking out and saying, oh, I predict that Heimtime's going to lose 2 out of the next 3. I'm going to drop him. Like it is probably more based on right now, just fresh what happened. Like you said, we would take into consideration, man, it looks like you're going to lose next week just based on you're not scoring a lot of points, and but I definitely think it probably has more of a standing in the here and now. Now the ESPN is projecting what the end of the season is going to be like.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what their algorithm is, but it's baffling. So that's all I'll say.
It's a little strange. I mean, I think Brian is probably his whole season is a good kind of microcosm of how we look at things, because we've ranked him pretty high regardless of whether he won or lost most weeks. And I think it's came true that, he right now he has a winning record, but he's only like less than 10 points behind Junior in total points.
Yeah. That we believe by the end of the season, everything's going to shake out, that he's going to be top 3, 4, you know what I mean?
And I look at, like, you look at his team, and when you have solid running backs and solid, wide receivers and a quarterback that struggled maybe early, but you thought, well, if he turned that around, which he has been, with Murray and then getting Hopkins, like it only looked like his team was going to get stronger, whereas some other people might have got some wins because they had one weird player that blew up and got 30 points or something,
Yeah.
Like those are the kind of things I look at.
So as you look at it, Dave, and we kind of were focusing a little bit when we were talking about just the standings and everything. When we look at it, what are the teams that you think over the next couple weeks, if they're going to salvage their season? Danny asked if he could still make the playoffs, and we were kind of teasing, right? He's got a 1% chance. It didn't even change after he won, according to ESPN.
Yeah.
But
I mean, mathematically, yeah.
Yeah, but realistically, who are the teams, and what do you like? that has to win right now,
So,
and you think they
I
actually
kinda
have a
look at-
chance to?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at two different things. Like, you either have a chance of getting first,
Yep.
you know, I feel like that, or you're trying to get seventh, eighth. With
Yep.
everything else, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's it matter?
Right.
Like you're either fighting to get first, like who has a legit chance of getting first, and what are the factors, and then who's got a legit chance of making or losing out on the playoffs. So, well, if I start with like first place, like obviously it's Junior's to lose. He
Yep.
wins out, nobody can catch him.
Yep.
But if he loses a couple, who has the chance? And obviously the people right below him have a pretty good chance because they're only one loss away. But like this week is going to matter to Rennie and to I think Lee, who I was thinking, because next week they play each other. So
Yeah.
whoever wins this week of those two has a better chance because next week they play each other, and so one of them is going to knock back down with only 3 weeks left.
Yeah.
Those are matchups matter at this point because who other people play makes a big difference about whether you have a chance to do something or not.
Yeah, and like, and hear me, everybody hear me. We were teasing like, I don't consider my team. Now it could end up in first place, but it would be luck. Okay, I honestly think that it would have way more to do with Allen being out and maybe some other things breaking right my way. Like I don't think that I have a league first place caliber team. I think that I'll finish in the top 4 or 5 and I'll make the playoffs, and compared to last year, that's great. But my team plays Junior like here in the next 5 weeks. And so for some teams, like that's an advantage, right? If you're Brian or if you're Lee or if you're Adam or anybody who's thinking they have a chance to get first place, if you actually play the first place team, that's a big advantage.
Yeah. Because they definitely
You control
lose,
your
you
own
definitely
destiny.
win.
Yeah.
So those kind of things with this few of weeks left, who plays who, makes a big difference.
Yeah,
So
I think I shared a screenshot of like my schedule coming up over the next 5 weeks, and it's like almost all top 5 teams.
Was it like 3? Me, because I was in there and somebody else was in there.
Junior's in there. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I deleted it, but yeah. So.
So that's first place. Obviously, you're still in it. Lee's still in it. Brian's definitely still in it because even though he's up 5 wins, he would need a little help. He needs a couple people to beat Junior.
Yeah.
But he would be right. He doesn't need a third win. He can get to the same record as Junior, score 10 more points than him over the next 2 weeks and pass him up.
Yep.
Anybody else has to get a third, like a win more than Junior to pass him up.
Right. But being 2 games back hurts him.
It does.
Yeah.
But
as opposed to me and Lee, but now technically I'm 2 games back as well because I'm a game back plus points back.
Yeah. So because just getting even with him, isn't, you need another week to get past him.
Yeah.
Because of points. And that makes a big difference. So Brian's in a good spot, so he plays this week, plays Josh, who's struggling. So that's, good for him. But Junior plays Danny, who can win with 70 points. That this might not be the week to overtake Junior.
Yeah.
But everybody else, that puts a lot of pressure. If you're gonna assume, like say you just assume Junior's gonna win, then you got to win this week because you got to wait till next week for Junior to lose.
Yeah.
That makes it tough. So first place it's definitely Junior's to lose. It's gonna be tough on everybody because some things have to go their way. Now the other end of things, we got at 7 and 8 position, me at 7 and now Ed at 8. But there's pressure on, it's a point thing too, because just getting to the same record as us that won't necessarily pass you up. Now it's not as big as dramatic as what Junior's is. My lead, my points lead isn't that great as it used to be. But like who, you think about who plays who. So
Yeah, what do you
obviously-
got? You got a 70 or 80 point lead on Travis, who's tied with you and is in the 9th place. And so, you know, if you keep winning, obviously you get to stay where you're at. But
So the people on
again,
the outside looking in is, you know, Travis finds himself, you know, this week he's on the outside with the same record as Ed. So, you know, but you don't, you know, with only 5 weeks left, you want to get there now. You know, you don't want to
Right.
still be trying to get there weeks 11, you know, or the second to last and the last, because then you're even more reliant on somebody else to beat somebody else.
yeah.
You know, the quicker you get, and that's where, you know, obviously I've had some
So let me
struggles this
ask
week.
let me ask you this, Dave. Does a 6-8 record get you into the playoffs?
So that would mean me only winning 2 more games out of the next
5.
5. I don't think so.
You think that the cutoff is going to be 7-7? I always say like 500 is usually
Yeah.
that's the difference maker. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I think so. Yeah, because
So
I mean,
any of these teams that are 4 and 5 right now have to look at winning 3 out of the next 5.
yeah, I mean, when I look at my record and I'm like, yeah, I feel like if I lose 3 out of the next 5, then I'm not in.
Yeah.
But
Well, because
that
just
means
think about
a
a
lot of
team
people
like
below me have to do the same thing.
yeah. Now
They're
think
gonna
about a
be-
team like Brennan. You know what I mean? If he could run the table, that could get him to 8-5
Yeah,
or 8-6. I mean,
which fairly, yeah, that's a good season.
yeah. I mean, you would feel I'd feel pretty confident saying an 8-6 team makes the playoffs. Now
yeah.
that's 5 straight wins. He hasn't done that all season, but that it just kind of gives some context to like what these teams are up against. You're not going to make the playoffs if you just keep trading win loss
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
next 5 weeks.
Not
like
if you're not in. You know,
Yeah.
I think I can't if I win loss, and everybody else below me keeps losing like they have been
Yeah.
most of the time. I haven't, you know, there hasn't been a lot of pressure put on the 7 and 8s.
Yeah, but you'd feel a whole lot better if you won 3 out of 5 versus winning 2 out of 5.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
definitely.
So where like myself, you know, I could get away with winning 2 out of the next 5 probably, and being 8-6.
Yeah,
You know,
even though it doesn't.
In any
doesn't
team
s-
who goes on a losing streak, you lose 5. I don't care what place you're in right now. Like if you're Brian, you lose 5 straight here, you're done.
Yeah, well, definitely. But when I just look at the standings and I see that the lowest, or the, you know, Adam is right above me at 5 and 4, I still feel like everybody from Adam to Junior, when I see that, I feel like they're locked in. Like the only spots are 7 and 8, and it's me and the rest of the people below me that are fighting for 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though there's 5 weeks left.
Yeah, just
that-
because these teams that are up there, it's not like somebody's just jumped up there.
Feel like they're going to keep winning here
Yeah.
more often than not. Even if it's every other, I can't pass them
Right.
unless I get 3 out of the net. You know, I got to win way more than that to pass them
Yeah.
up. So if I'm not going to pass them up, then it's going to be even harder for Ed, Travis, and Brennan to pass them up. And so I feel like nobody's going to pass them up.
Yeah.
And so
Although,
they can pass me up
Yeah.
for sure.
Although
and they
you
can
only
pass-
have a 13-point lead on Ed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Ed. It's Travis and the rest of the, like, what's Brennan? Is he close to
Yeah,
me?
Travis and Brennan. Brennan is over 20 points away from you.
Yeah, but he's a game back, so
Yeah.
it would have to.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So
So this is his week, definitely, to put pressure on me. He beats me, and he's
Yeah.
right. It's a big battle.
all right. So right now, put you on the spot. Who's in, who's out? Just give me the 4 teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. The easy one is
Danny's got the hardest road for sure.
okay. So just take him out. All right. Now, you giving Josh any chance at all? You got to pick four teams. I need them.
Yeah, I'll say Josh because this week he has no Joe Burrow and
Yeah.
he's gonna get another loss.
All right. I need two more teams that aren't making the playoffs.
I will go. I'll go Ed and Travis.
Ed and Travis. So
I
is
think
that
Brennan slips in?
Okay, Brennan slips in. You've been
I don't
high
know
on
how,
Brennan.
because I don't like his team anymore. I used to like his team, and now I don't.
You've been high on him. So with Ed, do you feel like it's more about his actual team or the likelihood that he won't set a lineup once
I think
between now and then?
Yeah, I think he's gonna miss a spot, and that's gonna make or break. He's got a lot.
Yeah,
of work
because
to do
even
this
if
week.
even if he gets on a Thursday and sets his lineup, which he's done before, something can happen between Thursday and Sunday, and then he's not aware of it. Like, that's the total Ed thing to do.
Really, I mean, he almost, with Jalen Hurts playing the way he is, I might change my mind.
Yeah.
He
Well,
might be able to miss a spot and still.
when we only have 4 weeks left after this week, especially because some of the matchups, and we'll get to those in a second, everything's going to change. Like, we'll have a much clearer picture after this week.
Yeah, actually, I think it's going to be harder for somebody to pass Ed up now that I think about who his quarterback is, and he fell into a good running back too, and so
his running back's been unbelievable. I can't even pronounce his name, but he's great.
Yeah.
So if I had
the only thing that would derail Ed, I think, is if he just totally leaves 3 spots blank for 2 weeks in a row and is
but he won't do that because I text him every Thursday morning. I text him and Danny. If anybody has a problem with it, take it up with my lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess maybe the more interesting question would be of the top 6, who could go on a run the wrong direction and
drop out.
Yeah, and drop out.
Yeah, the man
who's been struggling.
The team that I think has the highest likelihood he won't like to hear this is Rennie. And here it is. Rennie has 2 amazing running backs that anybody would want on their team, but he doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And everybody else on his team is subpar. His running backs carry his team, and I just think that the lack of quarterback play and the fact that on any given Sunday a running back can get forgotten.
Well, I mean, because we're not the only ones that know that Henry and Jacobs are good.
Yeah.
So if they're going to stack the box on them and force that team to
and
throw,
neither one of them are on teams that have elite quarterbacks.
Yeah. So if he has a down week with them, now Kelsey, and the only problem with Kelsey is
he's got too many weapons.
There's a billion receivers, and Mahomes loves to throw it to the ball boy and anybody,
And going into this week, like, he's got 2 Chiefs. Like, certain weeks that's fine. Scantling can get 12 points, and Kelsey can get 3 touchdowns, and it all works out just fine. I'm not saying it will happen to Rennie. I'm just saying that of the teams that are in the top 6, he's the one that I think is vulnerable. Now he could go on a winning streak. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this is where, like, in fantasy football, and I haven't had running backs the entire season. So it's not, you know what I mean? You can overcome that if you're really strong in other areas. So, and he's been doing just fine. Rennie has. He's just the team that I look at. I mean, with Adam, even though his wide receivers are really weak, man, Mahomes can go for 40 on any given Sunday.
And his
running backs are
team he's got so many running backs.
Yeah.
That are all, I would start any of them.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's jump in and take a look at our matchups coming in for this week, and we're going to start with now or never for Josh. But like you said, just a tough week. Bengals on bye, so he's got to plug in a quarterback.
Yeah,
and
I don't know who you pick up. Like, you look and see who's available, and it's like, ugh. Like, I don't who of that group's going to have a chance of getting 35? You know,
Is he gonna start that? Is he gonna start Jeff Saturday? I mean, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback.
yeah. I mean, because I don't see any way that Brian doesn't score a bunch of points again.
Yeah. Well,
Like he's freaking like he's projected right now at 90 something, and he doesn't even have a defense yet.
and are you the only, like, I feel like all season long, Kyler's gotten so much better, and they're probably undervaluing what he can do. Like,
Yeah. Now he is
you
a
know,
little
I know it's
banged
the
up.
I know it's the Rams defense, but like, man, since Hopkins came back, like that's
Kyler has an injury designation, but if he ends up playing, you know, that's going to be tough for Josh.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
yeah.
You're a good guy, but yeah.
He was not a participant in Wednesday's practice because of a hamstring and just injury, but I don't like how it doesn't show that on the matchups. It only shows you when you dig into the entire
know.
thing. So
Yeah, it's
right.
misleading.
So then we've got show me your TDs versus the Lumberjacks. That's Ed versus Lee. Man, this is one of those ones where I think like we were all so high on Lee. He won 6 in a row. Man, if he loses 2 straight and he loses to Ed, who, you know, for a while, like people were teasing like, oh, bye week and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, quarterback advantage. I don't care which one Lee starts. Advantage hurts.
Oh yeah.
Running back advantage goes to Ed, and so, you know, and then you throw in there he's got Cooper Kupp, and you know, that'll be a close one. Lee better show up this week.
Lee,
Another 64 spot, not going to get it done.
Yeah, you got to start. You question your roster management. When just a few weeks ago, I remember talking about how he had all these great running backs, and now
Yeah.
he doesn't even have a second one to put in. He's gonna have to pick somebody up for a bye week. He
Yeah.
dropped them all for other people because probably for bye week problems or
Right.
injuries or whatever. But you go from he had like I'd have to look back, but like 3 weeks ago, it seemed like he had 2 starters and 2 running backs on his bench that I would have started, and now he's
Yeah.
got nobody to play.
Yeah. So, yeah, those the waiver wire is going to be slim pickings come 5:30 a.m. when Adam goes on to pick up his guys without using his I think he's already used it, so he probably puts in for whoever he wants, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if it was funny, the last couple weeks ago, Rennie kept asking, like, hey, what time does the thing go live? He goes, I'm going to jump on and pick up like such and such, and people were answering, and then it'd be like, you know, noon that day, and he still hadn't done it. But like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you want to know how early it goes live, and then it's like noon, you still haven't jumped on and picked up anybody.
Yeah, there's
so.
definitely a lot of us that have, you know, and it wasn't just because they haven't done it yet, like just haven't moved people around yet. I looked and, you know, there's a lot of us that don't have somebody to put in until we go and get somebody.
Yeah.
I need
yeah.
a wide receiver. A lot of people need a running back, you know, need a kicker, need a defense, need, you know, there's a lot of empty positions that are not on somebody's bench.
Dave, let me ask you, are there a bunch of like high class wide receivers out there that you can pick up? Like you had your choice of a bunch of guys that you felt like, oh, these guys are going to be awesome?
There are, you know,
No.
you're scrambling to try to pick up
Anyone.
hoping for a touchdown just to maybe
Yes.
get 7 points.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, now there's some intriguing guys, you know, that, but yeah, it's not a, you know, and that here's where maybe people get creative and try trading, you know, I haven't, you know,
Or
we
what
talked
about
about
this? Like a flex spot.
I'm sure if right now Adam would probably be like, man, if I could start 3 running backs.
Yeah, that'd be good. So now we got the classic trap game off all weekend versus Polk High School. You giving Danny any chance to win? If
Well,
Josh Allen does not start, this game becomes really
But
interesting.
it's not just Allen. Debo is iffy. Lazard is iffy. He needs another. I mean, I don't know if Hubbard, even if Hubbard plays, he's not the starter. He's got some injury concerns himself. So, but if 2 of those 3 guys don't play,
Yeah.
and if Allen's the big one, like, because Brady's been doing not much, you know, Eckler can score 40.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, Danny definitely but he needs he's got to do
Yeah,
some
but he's
work,
going
he
to
just-
he's going Eckler's going against the 49ers. It'd be tough to
Yeah,
get 40 against them. So
he's gonna have to
uh,
pick up somebody, and maybe he doesn't wait until Monday night this time to try to do it.
Yeah.
But
well, it worked out for him last time.
it did, but it
Yeah.
didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't. All right, so discount double check versus vote flex. Rennie can end Flex's playoff hopes probably with a win this week, but
Or
it's
at
going to
least
be
make
tough
it
sledding.
Dangerously hard, unless it's a 140 to 142 loss, and
Yeah.
Travis gets a bunch of points on us. If he ends up at 4-6 with and being 90 points behind some of us, it's
Yeah.
going to be tough to catch up.
Rennie's going to have to do all of his heavy lifting between three guys, really. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Henry, Jacobs, and Kelsey have got to just dominate.
Yeah, I mean, when if you just looked at Travis's lineup, you would think that he had scored way more points by now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Dalvin Cook and
Because it's
Aaron
not like
Jones.
any of these guys have been out for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
They've been,
Now, does Jones have a designation? Yeah, he's questionable too. So that's what I thought that he was too. Jones is questionable. So,
Jones,
yeah, for Travis.
oh yeah, he is. But he's got Foreman, who's
Yeah,
probably just as
yeah.
he already has somebody that he can put in.
Travis has been silent, but he's been putting a roster together every week. So
Yeah, no, and he's had good players that are starting and playing. They just haven't blown. Nobody's he hasn't had 3 or 4 guys that blow up on the same week to get him all these points. So
Yep.
but that's how he was getting wins early in
Yeah.
the season. He got
All right,
just
well,
enough.
if
So I
Brennan
think
wants,
Rennie's got his work cut out for him.
yeah, if Brennan wants to make the playoffs, he's got to go through the Rat Trappers. How you
Yeah.
feel about your matchup?
Well, I wish I didn't have as many holes as I do, but his team does not look like I thought it would at the beginning of this. I thought that by now Taylor would be entrenched. I thought
Yep.
Mike Thomas would be back and playing great, and he's good. He's not even on the team anymore because he's out for the season. He had.
You got to think Brennan's going to make some adjustments. I mean, he may or may not start Jonathan Taylor, but this may not be his ultimate lineup.
Yeah, maybe not. And obviously it's not mine.
Yeah, you've
So,
got too many
I
empty
don't have a
spots.
wide receiver to put in that's
Yeah.
healthy.
Would you want to borrow one of mine?
Yeah.
You want to put Mikael Hardman in there?
But that's where the thing is, how do you trade? I don't have any trade bait. I don't nobody. It's I don't have any strengths. And that's
Yeah.
where we talk about trading is tough because you have to
Yeah.
have something with plenty in order to.
Well, let's just say this though. Maybe you can win with just 2 guys. Maybe Fields and McCaffrey can do enough that
Yeah.
you
I
put.
mean, you look at couple times now, I've picked up somebody that week. I picked up Taysom Hill because
Yeah.
I needed him the next week, and that's the week that he blew up. It's the only week of the year. I picked up Fields because I needed a quarterback next. I knew I needed one this week because Lamar was going to be on bye, and he gets 48 on my bench. Now, would have I ever started him over Lamar? I mean, how do you do that? How do you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known to do that. But
Yeah.
this week,
So I'll say this, Dave. Your playoff life is in jeopardy. You
It
lose
is.
this week.
yeah.
Okay. So
Especially if I
so
put another 60 spot up.
Dave, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
So, and this one, last one, me versus Adam. I've got 9 waiver spots that I put in for it to make some fine tuning adjustments to my team. We'll see what happens, but everybody knows it's going to be Tua, Jefferson, Hill, and Schuster. That's what we're
That's the
banking
core.
on. So, but and if Mahomes, if every throw can go to Juju, that would be amazing.
That would help. But does he ever do that?
No, he's going to spread it out between 5 guys.
Yeah.
So,
What was
But,
Adam's question? He wanted to
Adam
know who I was
okay.
rooting for?
no, he wants you to, probably rooting for, but he wants you to on air make a prediction.
Uh,
Who's winning this game, Dave?
Adam is. You didn't want to hear that, did you? But no, he's gonna beat you for sure.
No.
Yeah, he is. I
Have you
don't know.
seen
I
his?
mean,
Have you
I don't
seen
know.
his team?
yeah, I mean, these are the week that all those guys do well. Because it's
They're
against you.
they're all gonna pop off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope Mahomes throws 5 touchdowns and they're all to Juju, and then I'll just be like,
Trying to figure out why they think that Miami defense is only going to get 4 points against Cleveland. Is that because Cleveland was so dominant against the Bengals?
maybe. I don't know why that would be. I mean, if I was Adam, I probably would still start them, and that's not a joke. I probably really would. And I think that he plans to because New England's on bye. I mean, he could go pick somebody else up if he wanted to, but his team is definitely tough. He's got,
Yeah, I mean, he's
you know,
projected at
he's
101 with what I think is a low defensive projection.
yeah,
And nobody's really projected crazy numbers. Maybe, well, no, even Mahomes 30 is not crazy. It
Yeah.
seems high. It's a
so
projection until you see who it is.
yeah,
But he falls into another, a Charger wide receiver that is probably, they don't have anybody else. So, and he's the best one on the team that can walk.
wouldn't you say it was? I don't mean this. Tua was an iffy start against a Chicago defense. It's pretty touted. And so the fact that he got 30 against them gives me a little bit more hope against Cleveland. I mean, you saw what they did to Burrow, so that's a decent defense. But
It's tough to do
Tua's
that
a
2 weeks in
different.
a row. To shut down a good quarterback 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And
So-
why did they shut Burrow down? Because Mixon got all the points.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. Cleveland was 2 weeks ago. We played against the Panthers. That's where
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was more the Bengals shooting themselves in the foot, but so I don't know. I feel good about Tua. We'll see. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be doing much of this against Buffalo unless
Will you take your shirt off and do that dance if you win?
if Justin Jefferson scores 2 touchdowns and has 100 yards and I beat Adam, you'll see a shirtless Kevin doing this.
With a chain?
Oh, I'll get all the chains that I can find. Yes, and I will post it on, and everybody will get to see it. It'll be incredible. Dave, I don't like your prediction. I think I beat Adam, and I think that Tyreek Hill probably has 50 points. So, but you'll hear more about that. Like we'll get an in-depth,
Unbiased,
deep
accurate.
dive into this week's matchup spotlight. So it's my first time.
If it would just be like something if Adam posted his own.
Oh, hey, I welcome it. I welcome all this. I mean, I put things together. I try to make people laugh. I'm just like, it's all nonsensical. This is the first time I've really got the chance to talk to you about it. We didn't even bring it up last week. Dave, what do you think about the matchup spotlight?
I laughed.
Because
I
I did not even tell you about it.
No.
I just launched it.
You
And
launched
so the
it?
first week, what did you think?
At first, I stupidly,
Yep.
some part of me at the very beginning thought, "Now this is going to be kind of an in-depth kind of, he's going to really, iron out the differences, and he's going to make some good points." And then it became absolute nonsense, and I laughed my head off. So then going into the next one, I'm like, I was prepared for it.
You knew.
Like, there's going to be no, accuracy to this, and it's just going to be pompous and blowhardness, and it was. But it almost came to, I mean, it came more true than it didn't.
Yeah. Hey, if you think for 1 second that I'm not going to do one because I'm 2-0 doing them, you got another thing coming, Adam. There is a matchup spotlight coming Friday. Yes.
Oh,
Come
man.
hell or high water.
Oh, gosh. Good stuff.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the week. 5
Yeah.
weeks to go. We can't. I think just in going through these matchups, we talked about at least 3 matchups that are like huge playoff implications, whether teams
Yeah.
make it in or not. We're talking about, can Junior hold on to first place? Will Josh Allen play? Will Brian make a move? Because one more win from him and a loss from me or Lee, he's right there knocking on the door. Like all these things happen. So with 4 weeks left, a week from now when we do this, we'll have a much clearer picture. But it's going to get interesting. We got a lot of injuries, a lot of buys that are still in play. We have buys all the way up till, I believe, week 14.
Wow.
So do you think that like people will be playing in the most, for some teams, crucial times, still dealing with buys? So
Whether and it's hard to really look ahead and put somebody on your team for 3 weeks from now, because you don't know if that waiver guy is going to be healthy. You don't, it's hard to plan 3 weeks from now.
Well, and that's an interesting thing you brought up. It's like, honestly, I picked up Hardman because I was just watching him continue to get points. I don't know that I would ever play him over Juju. I mean, it would be a flip of a coin. I mean, he scored more than he did last week, but Juju did fine, right? But one, I didn't want him on anybody else's team. And two, if somebody got hurt, I was like, in a pinch, I'd start him if Juju got hurt, or I'd start him even if one of those other wide receivers got hurt. I mean, there are a handful of teams that would be like, hey, like you said, you would start Jamar Chase and why did it just go blank? Your guy, Boyd or
Higgins.
Higgins. You'd start if you had to. You'd start those two guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Depending on the defense you're playing, but
I guess what I was getting at is these bye weeks being so far, you can't like, you got other buys to get through, and you got to drop people that you don't want to drop.
You hosed us by eliminating the IR without talking to anybody, so then that hurts. So so you don't have any place to put these guys. Yeah.
But they're not all hurt. Sometimes it's just you have to drop somebody because to get through one bye, but then you got 2 weeks later,
I mean,
another one.
Did you see some of these teams? Some of these teams got like 4 guys on bye. Like, what do you do when you got 4 guys on bye? You can't roster that many people to.
And then when you have an injury and a bye, and then you drop, like I dropped 2 running backs that were just kind of and they both did better. I actually think if I would have started both those guys instead of the 2 I got, I would have won. Because they both got, like, they both scored.
Yeah. So matchup, Dave has the write-up. You voted for Pedro?
That was my little nod to Rennie's political.
Yeah. Well, I knew that he would be the right guy to he'd be the right guy to ask.
Yeah.
So so go and give that a read.
Did you see the best of week 9 write-up? Was I a little snarky, a little too snarky?
You mean about just how angry you are?
Like Joe Mixon.
Justin Fields, 48.6, safely on your bench. Yeah. Joe Mixon, Junior. I won't even say it online.
No, you're a
minister. Get taken
you can't
down.
Say that.
Yeah, I don't want to get taken down. So yeah. I don't think that you should be throwing out that people should be picking up people.
Who did I say? Unknown. Colk.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. You're just speaking the obvious.
Yeah, it's like I do the. I can't. I mean, I do this every week. So if somebody that's on the free agency happens to show up, I can't hide it. That would be pretty obvious too. So like, it is what it is.
Can you answer a question for me? How can Tyler Higbee catch no passes last week? I knew I won 128 points, but like a 0?
Yeah.
I mean, he played the football game.
He wasn't open.
What in the world's going on with the Rams? I was happy to see, though, I dropped the other tight end that I had, that Everett guy from the Chargers, and Adam picked him up and played him. and he did horrible too. So that,
So that
Yeah.
that makes you happy.
I mean, he did better than Higbee. He scored like
Yeah.
3 points, but yeah, he didn't go off like for 20. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the worst.
and Adam will use him this week, and it'll get another 2 points. So sorry about your luck, Adam. That's teaser
What if
for the
Adam
matchup
gets Cole
spotlight.
Kmet and he scores 20? Will you blame me?
Adam does not have the number 1 waiver pick, so I
Oh,
don't think that he's gonna get. He's got like the number like 10 waiver pick.
I mean, most of the platforms think it's a fluke because I think Yahoo and ESPN have him projected at pretty low. Like,
well, he's on the Bears, right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Fields
Fields
runs
would
all the
much
time.
rather run with the football.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dave, thanks for doing the podcast tonight. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll see you all next week, and good luck, except for Adam.
See y'all.
All right, bye.